Now, you may have noticed when I was running down through that list that I did not tell you where Jackson Cantwell was rated. Jackson Cantwell, the number one offensive lineman in the country. It's all we've heard. The number one overall player, number one offensive lineman. Here's a shocker. Drew Rosenhaus's client, Jackson Cantwell, is not the best offensive lineman. He's not even number 2. He's number 3 in the updated rankings. So that must mean Manny Iheanacho is number 2, right? It's been those two heads and shoulders above the rest. Some people think Manny's even better, but he's probably going to end up at Oregon. Surprise, surprise, it's not Manny either. Manny is number 5. Well, who the heck is number 1 if it's not Cantwell and it's not Manny? It's Felix Ojo, of course. Big Felix, number 1 offensive lineman in the country, which makes 5-star targets that the Buckeyes are after. You got Felix, you've got Braylon Womack, Darius Gray, Sabian Hyder, Tyler Atkinson. But I want to talk about Felix here. After all this drama over Jackson Cantwell, all the outrage about him going to Miami, people were so angry about it. Felix ends up being the dude here. And here's the craziest part about Felix. Felix is a year younger than these guys. These dudes are all 18 years old now. Felix is 16 right now. I got a chance to talk to Felix for the first time on Wednesday. His birthday is not until July. So he is a full year younger than Cantwell and then Iheanacho and Darius Gray. All of them. He's a year younger, and he's the number 1 dude, which means the tape that we're watching a kid who just turned 16 years old, playing high-level football, varsity football. And look at the tweet that he sent out. Number 1, a really confident kid. But take a look at this tweet. Look at the people that he went against. So Felix says, dominated against this competition while playing in the hardest district in Texas. I can assure you I'm one of them ones. 5-star Colin Simmons, number 1 defensive end in the nation. 5-star Jakeem Stewart, number 1 defensive end in the nation. 4-star Elijah Barnes, number 1 linebacker in Texas. 4-star KJ Ford, number 11 defensive end in the nation. And absolutely, we're talking about some serious dudes here. Felix has gone up against those guys, and he is much younger than Colin Simmons. Jakeem Stewart reclassified, so he's probably just a year younger than him. But you get the point. The kid is a kid, man. And Tyler Bowen, he's really, really in on this one. Just took a visit down last week to see him. Felix said Coach Bowen's a great person and a great offensive mind that knows what he's doing. The visit went great. We just talked ball, talked more about his plan for me. And Coach Bowen has done a great job here in this recruitment. Felix clearly loves Ohio State. The Buckeyes are without a doubt in his top 3. Many people they're in his top 2, feel they're in his top 2. And most of the projections on him are to Texas, as he's a Texas kid. They're the hometown school. They've got the funds to pay, and they're not afraid to pay for a high-level guy, max deal. And I've talked a lot about the last couple of years, the modern recruiting era. And of course, I sound like an old man when I talk about it, like wishing for the good old days. I'm really not. I perfectly understand people making decisions over money. It doesn't feel as good as it used to me as a college football fan, but I understand their decisions. But sometimes I think their priorities are a little off. And that irritates me. Like, we constantly hear them bringing up who showed them the most love. And we just played Richie Wesley the other day, commits to Oregon with the creepy video. Oregon showed him the most love. And all these players in schools have been showing love, showing love, showing love. We get it. You're very loved and cared for. Jackson Cantwell said it yesterday in between bashing Pete Nakos. I want to hear these guys say, like, we know that they're wanted, right? They're offering him a scholarship and recruiting him. We get that part. Like, what place do you love the most? That's where it should be. Showing the most love just gives this image of pampering. And I don't want a pampered player. I get it. They want to feel special, but I want to know where they want to go. Who do they love the most? And it just seems to me a lot of these guys are in for a rude awakening. Like Ryan Day said in the offseason, everything is positive when you're a recruit. Things change real fast when you get on campus. However, as a recruiter, you don't get to make the rules, man. You just got to play ball. What do we know about Ohio State when it comes to the Felix Ojo recruitment? They are playing ball. When it comes to showing the most love, I don't know if it's the most, but Felix has got Carlos Lachlan, Brian Hartline, uh, Tyler Bowen, Ryan Day, all contacting him every day. Not every single one of them every day, but one of them is on him every day. All of these offensive coaches are getting a hold of this kid. And there's just no way that anybody could be possibly showing more love. They're right up in there in the box checked for love showing category, box checked for defending champs, box checked for championship contender, box checked, Felix feels, for a path to early playing time. He said it himself. All the boxes seem checked here. He loves the family atmosphere, whole lot of positives. But what about the one thing that landed Jackson Cantwell to Miami? $2.5 million a year goes to Cantwell in Miami for 2 years, 5-year deal. These people are paying for 2 years. Year one, is he even going to play? Like, gosh, you're getting $5 million for 1 year out of this kid, unless you play him as a freshman. But when you look at one of the top 2 most respected recruiting services in the country, ranking Felix Ojo over Jackson Cantwell, older by more than a year, he gets $2.5 million a year. The first thing I'm doing if I'm Felix's dad is signing Drew Rosenhaus, because my son at 16 is worth more than that kid at 18 who just signed for $5 million. He just is. And don't think for a second that those rankings aren't tied into this. That assists in the negotiations of the value assigned to these players when we're talking about turning it into dollar value. And the market was just set with Jackson Cantwell. I'm saying all this to say Felix Ojo is now worth a whole lot more money than we thought last week, now that this Cantwell deal has gone through. Ohio State, like Georgia, previously Alabama under Saban, not under Kalen DeBoer, can get a discount. That whole most first-round picks ever and third most draft picks in the history of the NFL draft, playing on a big stage every single week, those things have real tangible value. They get you drafted higher. They really do. It works. You got Ohio State, you got Georgia. Nobody else is getting those kind of discounts, but it isn't that much of a discount. They're also going against the home state school of Texas, who will absolutely pay up for a 5-star number 1 offensive lineman in the country. They'll pay a max deal for that. Remember, this is the last cycle before the revenue sharing, the last time that everyone is positive that they can throw around as much money as they want with zero oversight. We don't know what's going to happen with the clearinghouse and such. We don't know how it's going to go down. Is it going to get shot down in court? We don't know. But we know right now there's no oversight, and we know that they all have collectives with money sitting there, and they can go use that money right now as much as they want. And that's what we saw in the transfer portal with teams like Texas Tech, some other teams, both windows, just going and blowing money. Now, Texas wasn't one of them, but you'd only know that if you looked it up yourself or you watched JUCK on Bucks. They're trying to saddle Texas with the Ohio State label from last year. Texas portal class outside, well, it's 24th in the country. Ohio State's 26th. They only took 8 position players, same as Ohio State, but 5 of them were defensive linemen. So because that made the news so much, it felt like they were just out there spending like they had the number 1 class, which they weren't. Ohio State, will they pay if they win this recruitment? Like, you can win everything in the recruitment, but will you do the thing you need to do in the end and pony up that money? Like, you did everything else you needed to. You obviously showed the love to the prospect. Are you going to pay the money? Is it worth $2 million a year? I made my opinion clear yesterday when it comes to these number 1 offensive lineman types. Now, I absolutely want Felix Ojo for sure. But when you're looking and you got a set pool of money, and I'm looking over here on the defensive side of the ball, and I'm looking at Carter Meadows, and I'm looking at Luke Waffle, and Preston Carey, and Jake Krull, and Jackson Ford. I've already got Sam Greer. I've already got Max. I've already got Tucker. I've got a lot of guys on the board here. Felix is going to be the most expensive of those offensive linemen. I need defensive linemen. Now, I don't know what the whole budget is, But I do know Ojo going to take a disproportionate amount of that. I have a different philosophy than I do with number one defensive lineman than I do number one offensive lineman. Why? Doesn't make any sense. Well, here's why. Highly rated defensive lineman, number one, they have a much lower bust potential. They're much easier to spot because it's all about traits. Number two, they can come in and impact immediately as a freshman. You look at Dylan Stewart, Colin Simmons last year, two of the best rushers in the country. They were freshmen. So you're actually getting return on that money immediately. Miami, like I said, paying this kid $5 million for 2 years, you're not even going to see him year one. And if he's on the field, boy, you got issues. But elite defensive linemen, game wreckers. They can be total game wreckers. Elite defensive linemen, you talk about the difference between very good and great at a position. How much does it affect your college football team? How much does it affect the score when you have a great defensive end versus a good one? I think it's a big difference. When we talk about an offensive tackle, I'm more concerned about having a great unit than a great individual player. And that's the difference for me when it comes to big spending on the offensive line versus the defensive line. Now, Felix is number one. This thing has become a whole heck of a lot more interesting.